The cold air in the underground chamber was heavy with silence. Faint blue lights flickered along the curved metal walls, and a single torch burned near the center, its weak flame dancing against chains that clinked with every small movement. There sat Lyra, the alien bride of the Zorath Empire, bound by iron cuffs that cut deep into her pale silver wrists. Her long white hair had lost its shine, tangled and falling across her tear-stained face. Every drop that touched the floor glowed faintly before fading away, like small stars dying in the dark. For 3 days she hadn't spoken a word. The guards outside her cell laughed, mocking her whenever they passed. "Look at the traitor," one said. "The queen of humans and monsters." "Not a queen anymore," the other sneered. "Only a shameful bride who betrayed her own." Lyra lowered her head, trying not to listen. But their words sliced through her like knives. Once she had stood before thousands wearing silver armor and a crown of light. Once she had dreamed of uniting humans and aliens. But now she was only a prisoner, accused of loving the wrong species. Her wrists ached as she tried to move. The cuffs were designed to suppress her natural energy, making her weak and helpless. She could feel the pulse of her power trapped inside, begging to be released, but she was too tired. Outside, thunder rumbled across the alien city of Zorath Prime. The palace trembled slightly, dust falling from the ceiling. Lyra lifted her head slowly. Her large blue eyes, though swollen from crying, still carried a soft glow. She whispered to herself, "They said I was cursed. Maybe they were right." In the corner of the room, a small holographic crystal flickered to life. It replayed her trial. Images of the High Council shouting her name, the crowd's anger the moment they tore her veil and threw her to the ground. "You kissed a human soldier," a voice from the recording thundered. Lyra's recorded self screamed back, "He saved me. He saved all of us." The crystal dimmed again. Silence returned. She wanted to close her eyes and never wake up. But deep in her chest, a faint spark refused to die. Suddenly, a distant sound broke the stillness, metal scraping against metal. Lyra turned her head sharply. Her breathing quickened. No one was allowed down here after dusk. Footsteps, slow, careful, getting closer. She pressed her back against the cold wall, heart pounding. The heavy door creaked. A soft beam of light slipped through the narrow opening, cutting across the room. "Who's there?" Lyra whispered, her voice shaking. No answer. Only the echo of boots against the floor. Then a voice, low, human and warm, said, "Don't be afraid. I'm here to help you." Her eyes widened. "A human? Here? Impossible." The figure stepped into the light. His face was covered in dust and scratches, his uniform torn and burned. But his eyes, deep brown and steady, met hers without fear. "I don't have much time," he said, glancing at the door. "If we stay, they'll find us both." Lyra stared in disbelief. "Who are you?" "Someone who doesn't like seeing innocent people in chains," he replied. He reached into his belt and pulled out a small plasma cutter. The tool hummed softly as he knelt beside her. "Hold still," he said gently. Sparks flew as he sliced through the cuffs. Lyra gasped when the metal finally fell away. She rubbed her wrists, feeling blood rush back to her hands. It almost didn't feel real. Why are you helping me?" she asked quietly. The man looked at her for a moment. "Because I heard your story and I didn't believe the lies." For the first time in days, Lyra felt her chest tighten. Not from fear, but something else. A sound of boots echoed from the hallway again. The man's face hardened. "They're coming," he whispered. "Can you walk?" Lyra nodded weakly. He took her hand. "Then let's get you out of here." The door slammed shut behind them as they disappeared into the shadows of the corridor, the alarms beginning to scream across the palace. Inside the empty chamber, the broken chains still glowed faintly on the floor, proof that something impossible had just begun. The corridor was dim, filled with the echoes of alarms and flashing red lights. Lyra's bare feet slapped against the cold floor as she ran behind the human stranger who had just saved her life. Her breath came in short bursts. The metallic taste of fear lingered on her tongue. He led her through winding tunnels beneath the palace, a labyrinth of stone and steel. "This way," he said, his voice low but firm. His eyes flicked from corner to corner, scanning every shadow. Lyra stumbled once, clutching his arm for balance. "Who are you?" she whispered again, desperate for answers. He glanced at her briefly. "Captain Aaron Vale, former pilot. Currently," he smirked faintly, A very wanted man. Lyra frowned. You risked everything for me, Captain Vale. Why? Aaron slowed, looking back at her. Because someone once saved me when I was supposed to die. This is me returning the favor. Before Lyra could speak again, a harsh mechanical voice echoed through the tunnels. Intruder detected. Human presence confirmed. Termination protocol active. Dozens of red sensor lights blinked to life along the walls. Aaron cursed under his breath. Security drones! He pulled a small device from his belt and threw it ahead. A pulse of blue energy expanded outward, knocking several drones off balance. Keep running! Lyra followed, her silver hair flying behind her, catching flashes of red light. For a moment she felt alive again, free even if freedom meant running for her life. They burst into an open chamber filled with glowing crystal walls. The crystals emitted a soft hum, almost like singing. The light reflected off her skin, making her look ethereal, otherworldly. Aaron caught his breath, looking at her for a moment longer than he should have. She looked fragile, yes, but there was something powerful beneath that sadness. Something that could shake empires. Lyra noticed his gaze and spoke softly. You're staring. Aaron blinked and cleared his throat. Just thinking how every story they told about you was wrong. She tilted her head. What stories? That you betrayed your people. That you used your beauty to deceive. Lyra's expression hardened. They said those lies because I spoke against the war. I wanted peace, and they hate peace more than death. For a moment, silence filled the air. The crystal light shimmered across their faces. Then Aaron stepped closer. You still want peace even after what they did to you? Lyra's eyes glowed faintly blue. Peace is not for me. It's for those who come after. Even if I die for it. Before Aaron could reply, the sound of boots echoed again. Alien soldiers stormed into the tunnel behind them. Lyra gasped. Aaron grabbed her wrist. No time! He shot a plasma bolt at the ceiling. The crystals cracked, collapsing part of the tunnel. Dust and debris rained down as they sprinted through another passage. Lyra's heart pounded wildly. The walls began to narrow and soon they reached a dead end. A locked blast door. Aaron slammed his fist against the panel. Come on, open. Lyra stepped forward, placing her glowing hand over the scanner. Her energy pulsed through the system and the door slid open with a hiss. Aaron looked at her, stunned. You can override Zorath tech? She managed a small, tired smile. I was their bride, remember? I learned how to open their cages. They slipped through and sealed the door behind them. On the other side was a large hangar, abandoned and filled with dust-covered ships. Lyra looked around in awe. These are old rebel crafts. Perfect, Aaron said, already heading toward one of them. He climbed inside and began hot-wiring the controls. Lyra stood near the entrance, trembling. Once we leave, they'll hunt us. Both of us. Aaron looked up at her. They already are, she hesitated. You don't even know me, he smiled faintly. I know enough. You didn't deserve those chains. For a moment, she said nothing. The engines roared to life, lighting up the hangar. Dust swirled like golden mist. Outside, thunder rolled across the alien sky. Then from far away, a voice echoed through the comms, cold and full of venom. Bring them back alive. The bride belongs to me, Lyra froze. She knew that voice. Her former fiancé, Commander Rael, heir to the Zorath throne. Aaron noticed her fear and tightened his grip on the control stick. Who is that? Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. The man I was supposed to marry. The engines howled as the ship lifted off the ground, breaking through the hangar doors into the stormy sky. Below, alarms screamed across the Empire. Above, lightning painted the night in silver and red. The hunted had begun their escape, and destiny was already chasing them. The storm outside was wild, full of violet lightning and burning clouds. Aaron's stolen ship shot through the sky like a wounded bird, metal groaning under the stress. Plasma bolts streaked past from the alien fleet behind them, each shot close enough to shake the hull. Hold tight, Aaron shouted, gripping the controls with both hands. Sparks rained from a broken console. Lyra clutched the seat beside him, her heart pounding. Through the window she could see the red lights of the pursuing warships. They're faster than us. She cried. I noticed, Aaron replied, twisting the ship hard left, diving into the thick cloud cover. For a moment they vanished from sight. The radar blinked and screamed, showing multiple hostiles closing in. Lyra leaned closer, her glowing fingers dancing across a side panel. I can mask our heat signature, but not for long. Aaron glanced at her, impressed. Do it. We just need time. As the ship plunged lower, a strange light began to shimmer below the clouds, blue and green veins glowing through the rocky surface of a canyon. The radar marked it as Sector 9, abandoned crystal mines. Aaron grinned. Perfect hiding place, Lyra frowned. Those mines are unstable. No one goes there anymore. Then they won't expect us to, he said, pulling the lever and sending the ship into a steep descent. The engines roared as they entered the canyon. Crystals the size of buildings jutted from the walls, glowing faintly with energy. The alien fleet followed, their bright searchlights cutting through the dust. Aaron guided the ship between narrow rock tunnels, scraping the hull against glittering walls. Each touch sent bright flashes of blue light through the cave. This place looks alive, he muttered. Lyra stared out the window, mesmerized. These crystals, they grow with energy. If too much plasma hits them, a thunderous explosion cut her off. Behind them, one of the alien ships fired, hitting a cluster of crystals. The entire cavern lit up in a blinding flash as the energy chain reacted, shattering walls and collapsing tunnels. Aaron cursed. Exactly what I was afraid of. The ship shook violently, alarms wailing. We're going down. Not yet, Aaron growled, pulling the throttle. The ship skimmed over the falling debris, scraping through the narrowest passage. The light outside flickered like starlight through shattered glass. Lyra held onto the seat. Her voice trembled. They'll trap us inside. Aaron's jaw tightened. Not if I trap them first. He slammed a control switch, firing a burst of plasma into a crystal wall. The explosion sealed the tunnel behind them, burying the pursuing ships under tons of glowing debris. For a few seconds, there was silence. Only the echo of collapsing rock remained. The ship drifted into a wide chamber, a massive underground hollow filled with crystal pillars and ancient mining machines. Aaron powered down the engines. We'll hide here until the scanners cool off. Lyra's hands trembled. You're insane, she whispered, staring at him. He smirked slightly. You're alive, aren't you? Her expression softened. I don't understand you, human. You act like you have nothing to lose. Aaron leaned back in his seat, staring at the cracked windshield. That's because I already lost everything. My crew, my ship, my home. Saving you gives me something worth fighting for again. For a long moment, the only sound was the hum of crystals. Lyra looked at him, really looked. Beneath the dust and scars, there was no hatred in his face, no greed, no fear, just quiet defiance. You're not like the others, she said softly. Neither are you, he answered. But before their fragile calm could deepen, a faint mechanical whir broke the silence. From the shadows, small spider-like drones crawled across the rocks, red eyes blinking, the air filled with clicking metal and static whispers. Lyra froze. They found us. Aaron stood quickly, grabbing his blaster. No, these aren't soldiers. These are scavenger drones. But if they scan our ship, the drones turned their glowing sensors toward them. Too late, he said. A high-pitched alarm filled the cave. The crystals began to pulse again, brighter and brighter. Lyra grabbed his arm. The energy, they're reacting to movement. Aaron cursed under his breath. Then let's move faster. They sprinted toward a side tunnel as the cavern erupted behind them. Blue fire swallowing the wrecked ships, crystals exploding like falling stars. The ground trembled. Dust and light poured through the cracks. When they finally reached safety, gasping for air, Lyra looked back at the burning chamber. You just buried an entire fleet, she said quietly. Aaron smirked faintly, breathing hard. Good, maybe now they'll think we're dead. Lyra turned to him. And if they don't? He looked at her with calm determination. Then we'll give them a reason to wish we were. The crystals in the distance pulsed faintly, like the heartbeat of something ancient awakening beneath the surface. The glow of the burning mines faded behind them as Aran and Lyra entered the silent darkness of the wastelands. The stolen ship had been damaged too much to fly. It now rested half buried under sand and crystal shards. They had survived, but barely. Cold wind swept through the empty desert. The sky above was deep purple, streaked with the faint lights of alien warships searching far away. Lyra pulled the ragged cloak tighter around her shoulders. The cold bit into her skin, but the silence gave her a strange comfort. Aaron built a small fire with old scraps from the wrecked ship. The flames flickered against his tired face. He sat with his blaster beside him, always alert, though exhaustion showed in his eyes. Lyra watched the flames quietly. "Humans still use fire," she said softly. "So simple. Yet it feels alive." Aaron smiled faintly. "Fire is the oldest friend we have. It gives warmth. And if needed, it destroys," she nodded slowly. The crackling flames reflected in her silver blue eyes. Then her voice turned distant. "I remember fire too, but mine wasn't kind." Aaron looked at her, sensing the pain in her tone. Lyra's fingers traced the dirt as if she were writing memories into it. "It was the night before my wedding. The Zorath capital was celebrating. They said the marriage would end centuries of hatred. Humans and aliens finally together." Her lips trembled slightly. "But hours before the ceremony, soldiers came. They dragged my family from our home. They called us traitors." My mother screamed until the fire took her voice away. Aaron's expression darkened. "They burned your home?" Lyra nodded. "They said the human fleet had attacked first. Lies, it was all planned. They needed a reason to keep the war alive, and my peace treaty threatened that." She looked into the flames again. "The man I was supposed to marry, Commander Rael, he was kind once, or I thought he was, but he chose the Empire over me. When I begged him to save my family, he turned away." Aaron stayed quiet. The fire popped softly between them. He wanted to say something, but words felt small next to her grief. Lyra's voice broke. "They chained me in front of the crowd. Said I had kissed a human soldier on the battlefield. Said I betrayed my race. They didn't see that soldier die saving my people." Her hand touched the faint scar on her wrist. "Since that day I stopped believing anyone could be good." Aaron's jaw tightened. "Until I showed up." Lyra looked at him, surprised by his bluntness. Then slowly she smiled, a small, tired but real smile. "Maybe," she whispered. "But why, Aaron? Why risk everything for someone you didn't even know?" He leaned back, gazing up at the endless night sky. "Because I once stood in chains too. Different kind, but the same feeling. When the Zorath burned my ship, I watched my crew die. The galaxy didn't care. So when I heard about the alien bride who wanted peace, I thought, maybe it's time someone cared." For a long time, neither of them spoke. The wind carried the soft hiss of sand shifting. The fire's glow made their shadows dance like ghosts from another world. Then Lyra whispered, "You talk like someone who's already given up on life." Aaron looked at her again. "No," he said simply. "I gave up on living for myself, not for what's right." Their eyes met. For the first time since her capture, Lyra didn't feel like a prisoner. The fire between them wasn't just warmth, it was connection, fragile but real. But peace never lasted long. A distant hum rolled through the air. Lyra's glowing eyes narrowed. "Engines," she said. Aaron stood instantly, scanning the horizon. 3 small ships hovered in the distance, scouts searching the desert with beams of red light. "Get down," he whispered. They crouched behind a ridge, the fire quickly buried under sand. The ships passed overhead, the sound fading slowly. Lyra's heart raced. Aaron's hand rested on his weapon, steady as stone. When the danger passed, Lyra exhaled shakily. "They won't stop." "No," Aaron said, his voice calm but determined. "And neither will we." He looked toward the horizon where the faint outline of mountains glowed with crystal light. "We'll head there. There's an old outpost. Maybe we can find fuel or a signal." Lyra nodded. The memory of fire still burned inside her, but now it carried something new. Purpose. As they walked into the endless night, the stars above shimmered softly, like distant witnesses to 2 souls who refused to surrender. The mountains rose before them like jagged black teeth, glowing faintly where the veins of crystal cut through the stone. Lyra and Aaron moved carefully, the cold wind slicing against their faces. They had walked for hours through the silent desert, guided only by the flicker of distant lightning. At last they reached an ancient outpost half buried in sand and rock. Rusted towers leaned at awkward angles, and a broken satellite dish pointed uselessly toward the sky. Aaron brushed the dust from a control panel and smiled faintly. "Still breathing," he muttered. "Let's see if you remember how to talk." He powered up the console. The ancient machine hummed weakly, lights flickering to life. Lyra stood beside him, her silver eyes scanning the alien runes. "This system was built before the Great War," she said softly. "We can connect it to the sky grid." "Good," Aaron said, adjusting a cable. Because we're calling for a ride. Lyra's expression darkened. Whose ride? He hesitated, then looked at her. Human command. Lyra's breath caught. If they know who I am, they'll... I know, he interrupted gently. But they're not our enemies anymore. Not all of them. Before she could reply, the console sparked. A red alarm blinked across the screen. Incoming transmission detected. Aaron frowned. That was fast. But the voice that filled the outpost wasn't human. It was deep, cold, and cruelly familiar. My beloved bride. Did you really think you could run from me? Lyra froze. The voice crawled into her bones. Real, she whispered. The outpost shook as beams of red light split the night sky. Alien warships descended through the clouds, forming a deadly formation. Aaron slammed his hand against the control panel. They traced us. He grabbed Lyra's wrist. Come on, there's a ship out back. They sprinted through the cracked hallways toward the landing bay. Dust rained from the ceiling as explosions rippled outside. In the corner, half buried under sand, lay an old scout vessel. Small, scarred, but intact. Aaron jumped inside, frantically pulling wires and flipping switches. Come on, old girl, don't fail me now. Lyra stood by the hatch, watching the red glow approaching fast. They'll reach us in seconds. Then let's give them something to remember. Aaron shouted. The engines roared to life, coughing smoke and flame. The ship lifted off, trembling under its own weight. Outside, the alien cruisers opened fire. Plasma bolts streaked across the sky like falling stars. The scout ship twisted and spun, barely avoiding impact. Aaron gritted his teeth. You ever flown before? Lyra grabbed the side rail as the ship shook violently. I was a queen, not a pilot. Congratulations, Aaron said through clenched teeth. Now you're both! The ship shot upward through the thick clouds, weaving between glowing trails of enemy fire. Lyra's hair whipped around her face as she struggled to stay upright. Aaron, behind us, she shouted. A shadow loomed, a massive cruiser closing in. Its cannons locked onto them, Aaron cursed. We need cover, now. Lyra pressed her glowing hand against the control panel. There's a magnetic storm above the ridge. If we fly through, their sensors won't see us. Won't see us, Aaron muttered. But it might fry us. Her eyes met his. Then we take the risk together. Aaron nodded once and dove the ship straight into the storm. Lightning exploded around them, purple bolts tearing across the sky. The ship jolted violently, alarms screaming. Static filled the cockpit. Lyra's body glowed faintly, energy running through her veins like living light. Your skin, Aaron said in shock. I'm absorbing the charge, she cried, her voice echoing with power. Keep flying. The ship surged forward faster than before, her energy feeding the dying engines. Behind them, alien ships entered the storm, and one by one they fell, consumed by the electric chaos. When they finally broke through the other side, the clouds opened to reveal a breathtaking sight, the twin moons of Zorath, glowing softly over a quiet sea of stars. Aaron leaned back, gasping. You did it. Lyra slumped against the wall, weak but smiling. No, we did. Then her smile faded as a familiar shape appeared ahead, a dark flagship, enormous and silent, waiting in their path. Rael's voice returned, calm and venomous. Running was brave, but love won't save you this time. Aaron's hand tightened on the controls. We'll see about that. The ship's reflection burned across Lyra's eyes, part fear, part fire. For the first time, she didn't feel like prey. The real war had just begun. The dark flagship loomed before them, silent as a tomb but alive with menace. Dozens of glowing eyes lined its hull, like watching beasts in the void. Aaron's hands gripped the controls tighter. The smaller scout ship drifted, wounded and smoking, caught in the shadow of the massive alien cruiser. Lyra sat beside him, pale but calm. Her silver blue eyes reflected the distant lightning that flashed across space. He's not here to destroy us, she said quietly. He wants me alive. Aaron's jaw tightened. Then he'll regret that. Before he could maneuver, a blinding beam locked onto their ship. The control systems went dead. The engines hummed once and then everything froze. They were trapped in a tractor beam. Lyra closed her eyes. They're pulling us in. Aaron hit the console, sparks flying. Damn it! The alien ship's hangar swallowed them whole, sealing shut with a hiss. Alarms wailed briefly, then silence returned, heavy and suffocating. The air smelled of metal and power. Stay close. Aaron whispered as the hatch opened automatically. Guards in dark armor stood waiting, their faces hidden behind helmets. Between them stepped Commander Rail, tall, elegant, and terrifyingly calm. His dark crimson armor glimmered like molten steel, and his golden eyes fixed on Lyra with a cold kind of love. "My bride," he said softly, spreading his arms as if welcoming her home. "You've caused quite a storm." Lyra stepped forward, her chin raised. "You burned my world," she said evenly. "You called it justice." Rail's smile didn't fade. "I called it survival." His gaze shifted to Aaron. "And you?" "Human trash. You stole what was mine." Aaron met his stare. "She doesn't belong to you." Rail laughed, the sound echoing in the metal hall. "Belong? Oh, human. Everything belongs to the strong." He turned back to Lyra. "You were meant to bring peace between our races. Instead, you gave them hope, and that is the one thing the Council will never allow." Lyra frowned. "The Council? You mean you?" Rail's smile thinned. "I mean them all." "You think your wedding was about love?" "No, it was about power." He pressed a button on his wrist console. A holographic image appeared in the air, Lyra's wedding ceremony. But this version was different. It showed hidden figures whispering behind the throne, data logs exchanging hands, and documents marked with the Zorath seal. Aaron leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "Those are secret orders," Rail nodded. "Signed by every member of the High Council. They planned the attack on your family, Lyra. They staged the betrayal to ignite another war. And they used your name to do it." Lyra's breath caught. Her hands trembled. You knew?" "I carried out their will," Rail said simply. "Until you ran. Until you made me look weak." Aaron stepped in front of her. "You're nothing but their puppet." Rail's calm expression cracked. "I am their commander." His voice thundered through the chamber. "And she was my crown." He lifted his plasma sword. Its red light shimmered across the walls. "I'll give you one chance, human. Walk away." Aaron didn't move, not without her. For a long second, the two men stared at each other, one made of rage, the other of resolve. Then Rail swung. The strike came fast, but Aaron ducked, grabbing a fallen guard's weapon and firing. The blast missed, searing the air. Guard shouted, chaos exploding in the hangar. Lyra raised her hands, her eyes blazing with light. "Enough." A shockwave burst from her body, flinging soldiers aside. The walls rippled with energy. Her voice trembled but strong. "You used me to build an empire of lies. Now you'll watch it fall." Rail stumbled back, disbelief in his eyes. "You can't control that power." Lyra stepped forward, her aura glowing brighter. "Maybe not before, but I can now." Aaron grabbed her arm. "We need to move." She nodded. Together they dashed toward the emergency dock as alarms screamed. Rail shouted after them, "You'll never escape the truth." Lyra turned once, eyes burning with tears and fury. "I'm not escaping it, Rail, I'm revealing it." They dove into a service tunnel just as explosions shook the flagship. The holographic files Lyra had copied were broadcasting across every Zorath network, the truth of the Council's lies. As the corridor lights flashed red, Aaron looked at her, breathless. "You just started a war." Lyra's expression was calm, resolute. "No," she said softly. "I just ended the wrong one." Behind them, the mighty ship began to burn. The stars burned brighter than ever before. All across the galaxy, every screen, every network, every transmission was filled with one impossible thing, the truth. Lyra's voice, calm but fierce, echoed across countless worlds. "They called me a traitor. They said I betrayed my people. But it was they, the Council, who betrayed peace." On mining colonies and battle stations, workers stopped what they were doing to listen. Human soldiers lowered their weapons. Alien citizens gasped, watching the lies of their empire crumble in real time. Inside the stolen shuttle, Aaron guided the ship through the wreckage of Rail's burning flagship. The stars outside shimmered with orange fire and silver dust. "Your broadcast reached every channel," he said. "You've shaken the entire galaxy." Lyra sat quietly beside him, her pale skin glowing faintly in the light of distant explosions. "I didn't want war," she said softly. "I just wanted them to stop killing for power." Aaron turned to her. "You did more than that. You gave people hope." A small smile touched her lips. But before she could answer, the radar beeped, multiple signals converging fast. "Rail's reinforcements," Aaron muttered. We're not out of this yet. The ship jolted as a laser blast grazed their wing. Sparks showered across the cockpit. Lyra steadied herself, her eyes glowing brighter. Set a course for the human command fleet, she said. If we can reach them before Rail does, they'll see the truth for themselves. Are you sure they'll listen? Aaron asked. They will, she said, because I'll make them. The ship roared forward, engines straining. Behind them, a squadron of alien fighters gave chase, firing volley after volley. Aaron weaved through the firestorm, his hand steady on the controls. Lyra placed her hand over the console, feeding her energy into the power core. The engines flared brighter, faster, but then the comm crackled to life. Rail's voice came through, cold and broken by static. You think the humans will save you? They'll turn on you the moment they fear you. Lyra's heart ached. You're wrong, Rail. You were mine, he shouted. And now, you'll die with him. His flagship, half destroyed, appeared behind them, charging a massive plasma cannon. The beam began to glow, brighter than the sun. Aaron gritted his teeth. We can't outrun that. Lyra stood steady despite the shaking ship. Then we don't run. She walked to the front of the cockpit, her hair flowing like liquid silver. Her eyes burned with light as she pressed her hands against the glass. Energy rippled through the ship. Lyra, what are you doing? Aaron shouted. Ending it, she said softly. Once and for all. A pulse of pure energy burst from her body, expanding outward like a wave of dawn. The plasma beam from Rail's ship collided with it, an explosion of light so vast it lit the void like day. When the light faded, Rail's flagship was gone. Only drifting fragments remained, glowing softly before turning cold. The shuttle floated quietly among the stars. Aaron looked at her, weak, trembling, but alive. You stopped it, he said in awe. Lyra's voice was faint. No, we did. He caught her as she collapsed into his arms. Hey, stay with me, he whispered. You're safe now. I'm just tired, she breathed. But for the first time, I feel free. Outside, human and alien ships appeared on the horizon together. The broadcast had done its work. The galaxy had seen the lies, and now both sides hesitated, not as enemies but as witnesses to something greater. A communication beam opened. A human commander's voice filled the cockpit. This is Admiral Rhodes of the human fleet. The alien forces are standing down. We request to speak with the one who sent the transmission. Aaron smiled faintly. That's you, Your Highness. Lyra opened her eyes weakly, her voice soft but steady. Tell them. Peace is possible. Tell them we don't have to be afraid anymore. Her image appeared on every ship screen, her glowing skin, her calm gaze, her tears shining like stars. I was once called a bride of war, she said. But today I stand as the bride of two worlds. The silence that followed was sacred. No one fired. No one shouted. The guns went quiet, for the first time in generations. Aaron looked out at the horizon of stars. You did it, he whispered. Lyra smiled faintly, resting her head against his shoulder. No, we did. The light of a new dawn spread across the galaxy, and somewhere, between the fading stars and the quiet of space, the alien bride finally belonged to peace, to hope, and to a human who refused to let her break.